Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Writers Toolshed. If you'd like to join our writing community on Discord and get access to fantasy writing classes and books on Patreon, check the links in the description. And if you don't want to miss any future episodes, be sure to follow or subscribe. And to support the show, leave a quick rating on Spotify or iTunes and share this episode on social media or with anyone who you think may be interested. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Writers Toolshed. I'm your host, Richie Billing, and today I am honoured to be joined by the brilliant author, Jayne Ann Krentz. Jayne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we don't think we've ever had anyone with as many best-selling books as yourself. Over 50 New York Times bestsellers, written in all different types of genres under a range of different pen names, which we'll talk about a little bit as well. And over 30 million books in print, which is just a staggering amount. It's an amazing career, Jayne, and it really is an honor to chat with you today. And you've got a new book coming out called Enter the Nightmare to add to the
Yes.
collection.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I've written under my Jayne Ann Krentz writing as Jayne Castle name, if that makes any sense.
Nice, nice. I'll get it's
Yeah,
it looks really interesting and like again it sort of brings is it like sort of one of your sort of favorite types of subgenres to write this kind of book?
this is a futuristic romantic suspense would be the genre if there is a genre. Um, and it's more world building than I usually have to do because it is on another planet. So that's kind of fun to do. I think all of us who do world building enjoy the fantasy aspects, and get to make your own rules.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but what I'm really selling here is the dust bunnies. The um the dust bunnies are kind of the equivalent of a psychic dog. So, as far as I can explain it. But when I started out in the series, I put the animal, I invented the animal for the planet, and they look a lot like your fluffiest version of an English Angora rabbit. Okay?
Nice.
Except except they're predators. They're not rabbit food eaters. And they have a bit of a psychic vibe and they bond, as animals do bond with us. And when I first introduced them at the start of the series, they were very much a side character, not even a character. They were a side thing in the books just to enhance the futuristic side of things.
Yeah.
And then lesson number one for the day, you put animals into books, you can't stop. Once you started with the cats or the dogs or the dust bunnies, every book you write after that, the readers are going to be looking for the animal. And now 19 books into this series, I can tell you that the dust bunnies have taken over that world. If I wrote a book in that setting without a dust bunny, I think people would hurt me.
Oh, nice. So are they featured quite prominently in this book then compared to other
Yeah,
ones?
yeah, they've taken over. It's really, it's like living it. I mean, you understand if you read cat books, you know what it is. I mean, you just there's an old saying in the theatrical world, you never want to go on after children and dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of what happened. So
So this story, I understand it opens with a woman who's been accused of murdering her husband, but she's got no recollection whatsoever of ever being married or killing him. When
yeah.
she's trapped in this mysterious place, and that's a fantastic hook to a story. But could you tell us more about it and
Well, from the beginning
inspiration
of my
behind it?
career, I lean Gothic. Okay. And the elements of the Gothic novel, as I'm sure everybody is aware, is there is that sense of isolation. The,
Yeah,
the your protagonist is kind of trapped in this situation, can't just pick up the phone and call the cops. And there is a strong sense of, can I believe my own eyes? Gaslighting, um, that whole thing about whether or not you can really trust your own senses. And the hints of maybe I'm going crazy.
Mm.
And I think I love pulling on that because I think we've all had those moments.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to a primal fear in all of us, that is this, am I really see nobody else is seeing this, why am I seeing it and what's wrong with me kind of question. Um, so there's that sense of isolation and there's that sense of can I trust my own brain, my mind to show me what I'm seeing? And that sense that you're on your own. There's a vibe here that you don't understand, and you're on your own to survive.
Mm.
There's, and I think that's kind of the gothic element that I love so much, and it often features a woman's at the center of the story. Traditionally, the gothic has done that, and that works too for me as an author of romantic suspense. Um, the third element I was going to mention, besides the gaslighting and the um, isolation, is trust. You can't trust anyone around you in these
Yeah.
situations. And figuring out who you can trust is going to be the key to survival. But those three elements are they're there in all my books if you go back to the start.
But it's like a perfect recipe, isn't it, for the kind of stories that you're writing, like the suspense,
Yeah.
lots of conflict and like a difficult situation that a character finds themselves in. Yeah, it's a brilliant formula, isn't it? And if it
Yeah.
works, why break it? Why change it?
Yeah. The thing about romantic suspense is that throughout my career, I've been able to take it anywhere.
Yeah.
It fits into any world. Futuristic, historical, contemporary settings, the core story fits into almost any genre.
I'm quite
So that's
intrigued by this story. I mean, where's the romantic side to this one? Is it like develops as it goes on, I imagine?
Yeah, he shows up at the end of the first chapter. He's
Oh,
he's the
nice.
one that accidentally got her into this fix. So um,
A little bit of conflict there.
yeah, now he's trying to figure out how to get her out of it, and she can't trust him because he's the one that got her in the mess in the first place. So that'll be the romantic conflict. And
All right.
and eventually they're going to have to make the decision to trust each other if they're going to survive. The thing about writing romantic suspense is that at some point in the story, the hero has to rescue the heroine and the heroine has to rescue the hero. They both have a job to do, so to speak. Um, and that's what makes it romantic suspense, as opposed to just suspense with a love story on the side or a romance with a little mystery on the side. This romantic suspense requires that the problems in the relationships work in lockstep with the problems of the story, of the plot, the suspense plot, and a change in the suspense plot will have a change on the relationship and vice versa. And that's the balance that you, as the writer, you keep for the whole story until both conflicts are resolved. And that's what makes it romantic suspense. Otherwise, you've got suspense with romance on the side, and you know it when you read it. You know it when you
Yeah.
read it. Yeah.
That's fantastic advice. I have read that some people have described this story as almost like a bit of like an escape room, with which has been cranked up quite a few notches. Can you tell us about the world? Because it sounded like you said at the beginning that you spent quite a bit on the world building side. So, what was it like in terms of creating this environment?
Well, a lot of world building in fantasy and science fiction either goes back in time to a look that really looks very Tolkien, very
Yeah.
medieval, or it's super futuristic. I guess the third category would be magic. Uh, Sorcery would be the dominant power. But when you think about it, the key to all three of those worlds, any world, is the source of power.
Yeah.
And whatever governs that is going to govern a lot of what you do in your book, in your writing. So when I started out, I needed a source of power for my planet, and I came up with amber, which is, as we all know from grade school, has a bit of an electric vibe. There's some energy, and you can make it
Yeah.
channel a little electricity through it. So in my world, it's stronger. It's a more powerful kind of stone. Um, and I use it as the source of the energy because the world itself is has got a lot of paranormal forces going on. And when I say paranormal, this is probably a good time to differentiate my paranormal from what a lot of people think of with paranormal, which is, let's see, most people think of paranormal now as supernatural.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't write. I'm not doing supernatural. I'm doing kind of classic paranormal, I guess you would say, because I lean on the psychic side.
Nice.
Psychic side of things. So if you're looking for vampires and witches, that's not me. I'm not doing those. I can love to read them, but I can't write them. They don't fit my core story. But if you're if you're intrigued by the psychic element, which I think a lot of people can get into because it's really for most people just one step beyond intuition. It's not a big leap into magic or fantasy. It's just that sense of we've all had the woo-woo vibe
Yeah.
at some point. Um, and some of us rely on it more than others, but it isn't a huge leap to make as a reader
Yeah.
into seeing it as a real force. And 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 as a writer, all I can say is the plots, you open up the plot cupboard door and they just fall out because so much serious science has been devoted to trying to understand the paranormal. Here in the States, we've got we've got decades of in the last in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, from the 20th century, throughout the 20th century, really, decades of serious, expensive research by government labs and universities trying to determine if there really were paranormal energies out there and if they could be used.
Yeah.
The government was interested in psychic spies and weapons. The universities were interested in the mysteries of dreams and that whole whether the phenomenon even existed at all, and the fact that we poured so much money into it,
Yeah.
I think says it all.
Is that
It's,
film, isn't it? Is it The Men Who Stare at Goats, which was meant to
yeah,
be based on truth? That's
that's
a
that.
brilliant film. Brilliant film, very funny.
Yeah, I know. It's and like it was serious science. It was serious investigation. So, and who knows if it's still going on? They're not going to tell us. The only
Mm.
reason it stopped, they say, was because certain people in Congress got embarrassed when it got out that they were funding this sort of thing. But
Yeah.
that kind of money, that you could still go on funding it, and the rest of us would never know.
I suppose that kind of thing's inspired like the likes of Stranger Things as well, hasn't it? And you've seen how popular that is now.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about it. Like you hear these weird things and then you're like, oh, what if? What if
What
this?
if?
What if that? And then that leads you down many a
And
garden path.
that's what I'm leaning on. That's as a writer, I'm leaning on that. It's
Yeah,
just
man.
close enough to be real that it leaves an opening for speculation. And I also think that when it comes to some things, we still don't have the answers on dreams. I mean, everybody's got a theory about dreams. That some people take their dreams very seriously, others don't. But we all have had nightmares. We've all been scared by them. We know they have power in that sense, that they can.
Yeah.
We've had insights. Every writer I know will tell you she woke up in the morning with a new idea, that about how to solve a plot problem she'd gone to bed with.
Yeah.
It's as writers, we kind of rely on it almost. We don't even think about it. So the whole dream thing feeds right into the psychic vibe that I like to work with.
No, it's really cool. I like it. So it feels very like organic and natural. And
Yeah,
that's what I quite like. Yeah. Something that you mentioned there, which I wanted to ask you about was the core story.
yeah. I'm a big
This is quite
believer in
interesting.
that it really pays you can write your whole career and never figure out your core story. Just do it by instinct and intuition. And that works great for some writers. But
Yeah.
if you hit a wall in terms of publishing, and sooner or later, most of you hang around long enough, you're going to hit a wall. I've hit several of them. Um, you're going to have to regroup and figure out where to go next.
Hmm.
And this often happens if the say you've been writing vampire books and vampire books go flat. That happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
And you've got all your stories. You loved working with the vampire stories, and that's that's what you wanted to write. And now you can't figure out where to publish it because there's no market left for it. The market has gone away. That's when it pays to know your core story because you will realize it's not based on the supernatural elements. It's not based on the world. It's it's it all springs from universal human emotions.
Mm.
So, for example, I found my core story when I managed to kill off my Jayne Ann Krentz career early on at the start of my career. And I did it with what I am now writing successfully, but in those days there was no market for futuristic romance, period.
Mm.
The kind of book I'm writing now, I could not find an audience for. And in the process, I killed off my career because I public the publishers published the books. The books died. People literally stood in line around the block not to buy the books. And by the time the third one came out, I had successfully killed off my career. At that point was when I stepped back and said, "What am I doing here? What am I really writing here? Where can I take this?" And I analyzed what I was really writing about, which wasn't about the futuristic setting or the rocket ships or the space adventures. That wasn't what I was really writing. What I was really writing was a core story about a relationship that is troubled with trust issues. I was writing about people who were in the act of reinventing themselves because something had happened drastically in their life. And I realized I was writing about a relationship that was, in a way, could be envisioned as a marriage of convenience. Two people forced to work together in order to survive.
Yeah.
And and then I thought, well, there's a place for that kind of story, and that's the historical romance, um, where arranged marriages were common. So,
Yeah.
and people must have gone into them with trepidation and, am I ever going to be able to trust this other person? And but I don't have a choice. I got to make this work. That kind of attitude, that kind of risk is still out there, really, in a lot of ways. So reinvention, trust, and the marriage of convenience story. Or if you put it with guys, you would say it's the buddy film.
Yeah.
You know, you know what I mean by that. So um, those are the three elements I'm working with every frickin' time I sit down to write. And if I go away from those elements, if I deliberately try to write something else, I lose interest.
Yeah. Is that what it comes down to? Just purely they're the only things that you like to write about?
Yeah, it's what
Yeah.
draws. And I think if we try to go, a lot of new writers are very worried about not duplicating themselves, not doing
Mm.
themselves, not doing the same story again, or they'll think I'm repeating myself. Well, yeah, that's what you're going to do, and it's up to you to find a setting that disguises it. And if you're looking for examples of how to do that, look at the mystery genre, where
Yeah.
where the writer sets up a cast of characters and keeps them going for 20 books, and
Yeah.
nobody cares. Nobody says, "Oh, he's repeating himself." Yeah.
Because that's what it's in them kinds of genres. You go into them books, don't you, with a certain expectation. And if things don't kind of match up with what you want almost, or what you're anticipating, then it frustrates the reader and sends them off. So it is.
Yeah.
It's like, but like you say, it's why deviate if it works so well?
What's the saying? Do it again, just make it different.
And I suppose every character you create is unique, isn't it? And I suppose it's I mean, I was going to ask you about characters, and like, I'm sure you've
I think,
created hundreds and thousands of characters over the years. Like, like, how do you get to know these sort of fictional people and make them likable on the page?
well, I think I get it's not up front in the book. The characters start coming alive for me once I start dialogue. I'm a very dialogue driven writer. Some people are narrative driven and some people are dialogue driven. Most of us lean one way or the other and then have to learn to do the opposite. Um, but we either see the story visually or we hear it. I hear it. And so the dialogue is what brings characters alive for me. And they start talking to each other on the page, literally. And that's when I start asking questions like, what are you doing here? You know, as a writer, I'm saying, why do you find yourself in this weird situation? How do you end up in a hotel room bathroom with a dead man in the shower and somebody sneaking toward the bed,
Yeah.
which is the opening scene for Enter the Nightmare. And so once you start asking what if, then you start building the background and the characters and how could this possibly come to pass? Um, and as a writer, that's where I get the ideas. That's when the ideas. I do not, unfortunately, get those ideas up front. And that's just the way my mind works. There's no right or wrong to this, as we all know. There's if it works for you, it works. And I need to be, I don't, I can plot, but like a different side of my brain that I use when I
Mm.
plot. Um, because when I actually start writing, I slide into another side of the brain and the whole story changes on me. My plots never end up looking much
Yeah.
like the final product. But other people can do a really intensive outline, 15, 20 page outline with every scene blocked out and then relax and go write that story. But if I did that, I'd lose interest in the story because I'd already
Yeah.
told it. So it just depends. Which way do you work?
No, I'm the same as you. I like a vague. I just like to know where I'm going, what are the key landmarks along the way, like the emotional beats, and then I'll see what happens. Like I was just writing this afternoon, and I had it all planned out. And like you say, it's more of an analytical thing when it comes to planning. It's almost like editing, isn't it? Like that side of your brain. And then when
Yeah.
it comes to writing it, and you're in the scene and you're with the characters, and it's playing out, and it's like, well, that's not going to work anymore. That's gonna have to change. So yeah, I agree, and I think if I have spoken to people in our community who are like the other type of writer that you said, who is very much an intensive planner, and they get themselves quite worked up and stressed out because it hasn't lined up. But I think you have to you need to let the characters breathe a bit and also let the story just not follow a predictable path.
That's a good way of putting it. I think I think the problem with trying to set it down ahead of time is that it can become a bit static because you
Mm.
have already told the story. So you're not pulling on your own emotions as a writer anymore. You've already done that. But the upside of that, if it works for you, if that kind of work, if you do get excited once you're into the scene and you know where you're going, so you're confident. Um, the upside of that is I think you can write more stress free.
Mm.
The thing about doing it our way is there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of
Mm.
anxiety because we don't really know where we're going until, except in the broadest kind of way.
Yeah.
Um, so when I get up in the morning, I'm anxious
You've got to write,
because
find the way.
yeah, yeah. Do you find that? Do you write? Are you aware of kind of an anxiety before you sit down to write that?
Sometimes, yeah, and then it puts me off writing sometimes as well, because you're not quite sure. Because, like you say, you're stepping into the unknown, aren't you? And instinctively, that's something that you don't like to do. How do you find it?
Yeah, you just got to sit down and write. It
Mm.
could be, and at that point, pick something maybe not linear, maybe something that you know will happen later in the book.
Yeah,
I've written more than one book following the advice of a friend who said, write the ending first when you get stuck. It doesn't have to be the final ending, but just the act of sitting down and writing the ending after you've started a book and you're going blank for a while. Um, the act of writing the ending will make you look back and see what you have to pull together. It'll
yeah,
give you some direction. So that can work. So can writing a key scene that you know is going to come. You're just trying to get there. Go
yeah,
ahead and write the scene. And that often will unlock whatever it is that is stymieing you.
Yeah, that's great advice. And we're just going back to romance because, like, I mean, it must have been really frustrating for you at the time, like that you pour so much like time and effort and like into something that you really like to tell. And back then, it must have been so frustrating that no one was going for it. And but now, like, it must be amazing to see how it's changed. And I
Yeah,
understand that you even wrote like essays about like how romance wasn't like getting taken seriously enough, but now it's the dominant genre by far.
yeah.
So how does it feel like looking back over the last few years?
It's been an exciting time overall. It's been a good life, a good career. Um, I do think the biggest single change though is the advent of self-publishing. That was not an option for years. That's fairly recent in the history of
Yeah.
publishing, that you could actually build your own career without going through a regular publisher. So it was publish or nothing in those, either went through New York Publishing or one of the big publishers in the UK or Canada, or you didn't publish. There was no option there. So that acted as a gatekeeper. The publishing world had gatekeepers in those days
Yeah.
that they still do their own thing, but you can go outside the gates, publish, and build your own audience. And maybe if I had had that option, I could have found an audience back then.
Mm.
I don't know, because it's a different time and different place, and I just don't know. But it worked. It's all worked out, so I can't complain. But yeah, it was frustrating, and I envy the young writers starting out now who have the option of making their own publishing house. Basically, I think we're seeing a rise of cottage industries, lots of little tiny publishers just doing their own thing.
Yeah. I mean, fair play because I mean it must have been a lot like to go through that process of like publishing the three books and it not working. And like you say, you've got to like take a step back. But fair like got the determination to do it and you carried on, so fair play. And it's all worked out.
Yeah, I think if you can stop writing, you will.
Yeah.
Uh, for those of us who keep writing against all odds, because the odds are always staggeringly heavy against all of us, because there's just so much out there. There's so many millions of books out there. So if you can stop writing, the frustration factor will probably get to you, and you will. But if you cannot stop writing, then I'd say you are a writer. I mean, it's just you're trapped. You're doomed.
Yeah.
Uh, it's it's a I'm sure you have the same sense, and in some ways you can't look away from it. It's a compulsion. It's maybe an addiction.
Yeah, it's a very productive addiction as well. It does feel like that as well, but you just sort of push yourself off, don't you, and move on to the next story.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, what's it been like the publishing world from your experience? I mean, I'm sure you've seen so many changes, like you said, self-publishing and ebooks, audiobooks, and now we've got AI. Like what's it
Yeah,
been
that's
like?
that is AI is the scariest thing I've ever seen. That really is. Most of the authors I know are terrified of it.
Mm,
That's the one we've always been able to handle the ups and downs of the publishing world, but AI is an unknown factor. And if it turns out it can write what we're writing, I don't
yeah.
know what happens.
Um,
We like to think that it can't duplicate the creative spark, can't really create human characters in the sense of that you can relate to. I don't know. So I would say that's the biggest unknown on the horizon right now. Everything else we've been able to handle, the ebooks, the self-publishing, I don't know. Did you see in the UK, did you see a loss of small bookstores, or did that market stay steady for you?
well, there was a big boom, wasn't there, of independent bookstores opening up, but I have noticed a few closing down in the last probably 6, 12 months.
Mm.
So it's
We
definitely
lost a
starting
lot.
to lose,
We
yeah.
lost a lot. There was a time this America, as you probably know, is a very mall place. There are shopping
Mhm.
malls everywhere. And there was a time here when you could not walk into a shopping mall anywhere in America, the smallest town in America. If it had a shopping mall, there would be at least two bookstores. B. Dalton's and Walden's, where they were a chain and they were everywhere. And that disappeared. That's gone. And nothing has made up for that. Nothing has taken its place. Then we went through the spell of the big box stores, Borders, Barnes and Noble.
Mm.
And you've got your versions of that too, I think.
Yeah, Waterstones is our one.
Yeah, that um, most of those we lost. Barnes and Noble is the only one we have left. We have one left, and they are not nearly as ubiquitous as they used to be. They're
Yeah.
strategically located in certain kinds of areas, but you can't count on. It used to be there would be one on every block, or two or three, in a big city. But those days are gone. So now over here, the primary seller of books, the number one bookstore in America is Amazon,
Yeah.
and
You
that's
can't
that.
can't get away from it, unfortunately, can you? It's but I have noticed, like in the UK, we've got there's been I mean, globally, there seems to be a big shift towards special editions. People want more from a book than ever. They want
Yeah,
pretty things to sit on the shelves, something
you
nice that
see
they
that
can
here.
share
Yeah,
on social media. And there's one publisher in the UK called The Broken Binding, and they specialize in special editions, and they just seem to be thriving. And when you speak to people from the publishing houses, they're trying to do more in terms of like special editions as well.
yeah, it's a
Um,
big thing over here too. The problem, of course, is that it's expensive.
it is, yeah.
So it's putting hardcover books, well over $30 a hit.
Mm,
I don't know what that translates into pounds, but it's a lot of money for a book.
yeah.
Um, so the book has become a kind of art object, I guess you would say. But I would point out that this is not the first time we've seen that. Um, and in fact, we can blame the UK for for it because it was a big thing, back in the 19th century of basically buying the book in paper format and then having beautiful leather covers made for it so that you could have it on your shelf at home and look,
Yeah.
you know, erudite and smart and artistic. So the book as an art object is not new to us. It's been around before, and in fact, we use it all the time. I I don't, but people who write fantasy often have a grimoire or something. It'll be studded with jewels and
Yeah.
fancy etchings and things. So the idea of decorated books is an old one, and that's kind of come around again. But I don't see it lasting or becoming too big a thing this time around because it's expensive to
Yeah.
both to produce and to market and to buy. So I don't know how long that'll last. That's a big thing.
I know it's interesting, and what I've seen as well. I mean, there's a big surge in people selling books directly, and people just opening TikTok shops, selling books
Ah,
through there, and so like you said, it's like all these little cottage businesses just opening up, and it is surprisingly easy to sell things directly now. And you can copy the same service as you would get from Amazon.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's very empowering for a lot of authors, and I suppose it's just got all the publishing houses scrambling a bit.
I think the authors that I know now who are most satisfied with their careers are the ones who are self-publishing because they are in control.
Yeah,
They're in control of every phase, and the quality of the product now looks just as good as anything that New York or London puts out. So most readers no longer know the difference.
yeah,
They wouldn't know if a book was from a New York or UK publisher or just published by the writer.
yeah. And the royalties are pretty significant as well. Like I think for ebooks, like if you sell ebooks through my just through my website, it's like 95% profits
Oh,
compared to
yeah,
Amazon, which is like 30% or something. It's crazy.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that's another change then that you're seeing then, isn't it? Because Amazon did it's still got the biggest lock on the market here, but you're right. If the self, not just self-publishing, but marketing takes place through your own websites, that's going to be another huge change too.
Yeah. It's a crazy game, and I suppose it's like as you've seen, it's just changing all the time. It's a lot for people to keep up with, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, like just as a question to finish up on is like if you've had a brilliant career, I mean, if there's one thing that you've learned that you wish you'd known at the start, I mean, what would that be?
I think to know your core story,
Yeah,
it'll set you free because you'll realize you can take it anywhere.
yeah,
Don't have to just fight for a spot in the vampire business or something. It'll set you free. And after that, I would say, don't worry about duplicating yourself. You will. And it's pays to think of yourself as creating your own universe
yeah,
and that you work, that's where you draw your power is from different elements of that universe. But it's yours. It's not somebody else's that somebody else works in. So you have the freedom to change it up.
yeah. That's brilliant advice. And if there was someone listening and they were struggling to work out what their core story is there like a process that they could follow?
I would say, I would say strip everything out of the story except the emotional content. Look at what your characters are arguing about. Look at what they're on board with. Look at um, what they want.
Yeah,
The ask question is a big one. What is it your characters really want? And that's the way into your core story, I think.
brilliant. Jane, thank you very much. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Oh,
Lots of
thank you.
great insights. And I hope it all goes well with the new book. It sounds fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Um, if anyone wants to learn more about you and your writing and all of your books, where's the best place for them to go?
Probably my website, janeannkrentz.com. So yeah.
Nice. We'll put a link in the description.
I suck at social media. So
It's too much, isn't it? Yeah.
it's
Oh,
overwhelming. Yeah.
well, thank you very much, Jane. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone at home for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Writers Toolshed. If you'd like to join our writing community on Discord and get access to fantasy writing classes and books on Patreon, check the links in the description. And if you don't want to miss any future episodes, be sure to follow or subscribe. And to support the show, leave a quick rating on Spotify or iTunes and share this episode on social media or with anyone who you think may be interested. Thank you very much for listening.